How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely and wonderful day today. It's that time again, time to get into animation, talk about some creation, talk about the whole creative process, look at some inspiration, and try and spark our imagination. And with that being said, today's inspiration took me a little while to come across. It's definitely comes from a great and wonderful founder of this wonderful medium that we look at all the time, animation. It comes from Max Fleischer. If you're not familiar with Fleischer Studios, you probably are, you just don't know it. That's like Betty Boop and Popeye and Coco the Clown and a bunch of really early the old Superman cartoons. And I have over in the corner over there a little clip from Popeye as well, which I'll link down in the information below. I had to scour the internet because unfortunately, there aren't too many biographies from him, and I don't personally own one. But I was able to find a copy of part of one online. So because there aren't a lot of quotes or interviews with him or discussions with him, and I like to with this kind of inspiration, our starting point with our videos, I like to try and find something from the creator itself. I find that that's a little bit better to get inside of their heads and what they were thinking while they were doing it. So I was able to, after doing a lot of research and watching a couple of interviews with people who worked for him, and finding there are a lot of articles on Disney versus Fleischer and that whole debate and everything, but I wanted to go to the source as well. And so what I was able to find were a couple of kind of unique, sorry about that, unique viewpoints on the creator. And when talking about like his workflow, he said, working hours are from 8 a.m. to 12 and from 1 to 5, but I never stop working. And I think that's a great mentality to have. He said that he would work maybe like 4 hours or sleep maybe 4 hours a night, and he was always creating or coming up with something or pushing himself to do better or trying in different mediums. And then another thing that they talked about in his biography was he was not only artistically inclined, but also had a very keen and instinctive sense for mechanics. He liked them both. A strange combination to me. Machinery was an art also, and I see great art in machinery. And I think there's an interesting thing as a creator or a content provider that you should really master, or work towards mastering and really understanding whatever it is, whatever the medium is, whether it's woodworking or welding or whatever it is. 1 second here. Sorry about that. But whatever medium it is that you're trying to master, to really work on getting the foundations down and really understanding that medium, but also to not limit yourself to only that one thing, but to try and find a couple other passions or interests on the side that can maybe help give you a unique view at whatever it is your medium is. I know for Fleischer, in his case, he was really into machinery and mechanics and all that stuff, and he was the one who really founded rotoscoping, which is kind of looked down upon a little bit these days, but what that was being able to like frame by frame video live action, and then kind of getting a foundation from that and tracing over it or drawing over it, and to get some animation done that way. But at the time when it first came out, it was amazing. There was nobody who was doing this, and it was so inventive and so unique. And he really invented the whole like follow the bouncing ball thing that and everybody's seen a video with that, where you see the words on the screen, the bouncing ball on top of it. And he was just really he also, I believe, was one of the first, if not the first, to do what did they call them, talkie tunes, I believe, which was adding voice and speech and everything to the animation, not just music behind it, but actually talking and lip sync and everything. So his love of inventing and mechanics and machinery, he brought that into his love of art and animation. And so I think there's something to that. Like if your passion is animals and you love art, then bring that drive in there. Or if it's whatever that the other stuff is that informs your life and that you are passionate about, bring that into the thing that you want to do with your life and make it unique and make it you. Alright, well, I'm rambling a bunch, so let's get into today's animation, and definitely check out all this great stuff from Fleischer Studios over there. And I'll link a bunch of stuff down below so you guys can check it out and watch it at your leisure. And grab, what was it called? Out of the Inkwell? There should be a copy of it floating around if you do a search for it. You can read a little bit more about Max Fleischer, but he's really interesting, and it's really nice to see, you know, after the Winsor McKay Foundation of Animation, how it kind of branched out, and how there was really like a divide between the Disney animators and the Fleischer animators, and there were a couple other ones as well, but those two, and how that whole system worked itself out into, you know, the animation that became the stuff of, you know, the 60s and the 70s and everything. But that whole from, you know, the 20s to the 50s is a really unique time in animation, and a really inventive time, and I think it's important to study that kind of stuff too, so that we can learn from it and grow from it. But yeah, let's get into animation today. This is a shark rig from Sonic. Oh shoot, I forgot the name of it. SonicTK.com. I'll link it in the information below. It is a free rig that you can grab. These are great rigs. We had the last couple of videos. The jelly rig and the minnow rig, which I don't think I've put up yet, but should be up by the time this video's up, are from that same place as well. And so far these rigs have been really great. They're really colorful. They're really they have a nice texture pack and everything with them. They blend really well. They work really well. They deform great. I don't really see a lot of animators or indie animators using these rigs, so if you get a chance, I definitely suggest it. Unfortunately, I haven't used this one yet. It's a brand new rig today, so we're going to try and see if this one lives up to those the good quality of those other ones, which I'm pretty sure it will. If you're new to this series, what we do is we give ourselves anywhere from like 45 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the day, depending on the rigs, depending on the idea we come up with. We give ourselves about 48 frames to work with, which would be about 2 seconds of animation that we try to do, and we try to go basically from start to finish. It's kind of like an over-the-shoulder animation video, so we talk a little bit about like instructional and how-to, a little bit about the creative process, and anyways, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you find something that you can take away, whether this is your first time opening mine and you're a beginner, or if you're you know, a really super advanced user that's way better than me. I hope that these videos give you something, at least, so that you feel like there's another animation buddy out there in the trenches with you that struggles with the same things, or finds successes in the same things, or just you know, gives you some inspiration to keep creating and keep pushing yourself every day to make new things as well. So with that being said, let's get started. Let's turn our textures off and just hit 5 on the keyboard here. Just make it so that it's a little bit lighter and won't be too heavy. And by that I mean that there won't be as much lag while we're animating with it. We're just going to create a polygon primitives cube here, just so there's a base to stand off and turn off the grid. Okay. And next we're going to make sure that we just have NURB curves, NURB surfaces, and polygons selected, so we don't accidentally key anything that we don't need to. And let's go ahead and go File, Save Scene As. And we just want to save often, save multiple variations, especially if you're just starting out, because you're probably going to have a lot of times where you accidentally hit a key, or you accidentally delete something that you didn't mean to or anything. So saving multiple versions, like this is version 1A, this is version 1B, version 1C, and saving often, like every 5 minutes, every 2 minutes, every 10 minutes, whatever. Just call it Shark Walk. Shark Rig Walk, because I think I might already have a Shark Walk from the other day. Let's see. Okay. And now for this one, I thought it would be fun to kind of make kind of like a heavy metal, just like bobbing his head, throwing his fist up. I don't know. It's kind of the first idea that I kind of liked, that I was thinking of with this one. And it's good to have, you don't always have to have everything planned out, and of course with more finished animation and, you know, like stuff you're going to put on your reel or stuff for a studio, you know, you're going to want to shoot video reference for that, you're going to really want to thumbnail it out, get all that done. But with stuff like this, where they're more just tests or to push your skills or to keep up with keeping animation fresh in your mind, so you always keep your eyes fresh and everything, it's okay. You can kind of play a little bit by ear, and I think that's some of the. Yeah, let's push chest out. We're gonna pull back the hips a little bit. Let's rotate that up. Rotate that. Rotate X. Should be Y. No. And that's the jaw or the neck right here. Rotate Z. And then I want to make a fist with this one because I want good fist. And don't be afraid to get silly and get foolish while you're coming up with ideas or while you're trying stuff out. You know, just go ahead and get up out of your chair or sit in front of a camera or a mirror and make the funny faces or intense faces or whatever it is, so you can get an idea of some different things that might be going on in your face or in your body that you didn't think of before. And it's definitely something that I know I do often. What I don't do on camera, at least, is usually, and not always, sometimes I just go with pop on the camera and get started because time or whatever. But usually, if I kind of have an idea, I will. We have these big mirrors in the bathroom, so I'll usually do okay, I want this walk to be like this. So I'll sit in front of the mirror and I'll, go back and forth and see what are my shoulders doing, what face am I making, what facial expressions am I making, and I might do that at the beginning of my day because I do a lot of hashtag shower thoughts. So I think about a lot of, well, how am I going to approach this today and how am I going to approach that today? So while this is, mostly spontaneous, I do put a little bit of pre-thought into these animations, but I definitely think that there's value in watching kind of a workflow or a creative process happen with animation that wasn't available when I was first learning. So I hope that this provides that for you, and you feel like you have an animation buddy out there who you guys can always message or comment down below if you don't understand something, or if you'd like me to elaborate further on any of this stuff as well. And don't forget to throw some thumbs up if you like what we're doing here, and subscribe to the channel as well. Because kind of what the goal of this is to feel like you have, an animation buddy along the way, and also to kind of, especially if you're just thinking about, is 3D animation something that I want to get into or get involved with, this gives you at least like a pretty good glimpse of to what goes into an animated shot or an animated short. And then I think if you could start here and then maybe go to a school after that and take a couple classes or something, this is kind of a good starting point to understand a lot of the basic concepts. I try to keep it not too simple where it's just a bouncing ball, but at the same time try to keep it where anybody watching this could glean something out of it. Now that fist doesn't feel too tight, so maybe we really need to crank that down a little bit more. Let's see. Yeah, that feels better. I think we had too much roll here with the fingers, so let's see. And right now what we're doing is we're creating our first storytelling pose, and these are called storytelling poses because you want to get some character, you want to get some life built into your first initial starting pose, and then once you animate it, you already have that little bit of life built in there, so that you can still play with the animation and everything, but the character and the feeling behind it has already got a bit of a feel to it. And then one thing that I don't know if I really talked about was, I believe it was Keith Sinte, when I studied with him, he talked about the importance of like working within a pose. And if you're not familiar with that, what that means is rather than, and it depends on the kind of shot you're working on as well, but rather than having your character go like have him like, this is my basic pose, but I move over here, move over there, this is like kind of the pose the body's working, and yeah, there's subtle movement and everything, but you have like your basic overall pose, or your basic overall pose is this, and I'm talking to you this way, and I'm moving my hands, and there's light head tilts and everything, but basically the body's here, rather than going every time you want to make a different point. So have like, what he would say in a scene, and depending on how long the scene is, like have, what did he say, anywhere from 3 to 5 kind of, hold on one sec, got some craziness going on. Sorry, we're babysitting a little cat, and she does fine until I want to record, and then she definitely gets, hears me talking and gets a little spunky. So, anyways, what I was saying was, like, let's say you're working with like a 300, 200 frame shot, so really, like, you want to keep it down to maybe like 5 really key poses and work within those. So you can still have movement. It's not like you only have 5 keys, but you have like poses here, and then I have a pose where I go over here, and then I talk and I work within this, and then I readjust, and maybe I'm up here and down here, and you can see, I mean, that's, let's see, what did I say, 300 frames, 20 frames, it's like a 10-11 second shot, and you've got, you know, each time I was doing that, it's not like I'm over here, I'm over here, I'm up here, that's just did too much. Now, if you're doing something where it's like a crazy Daffy Duck or Bugs Bunny where it's pop, 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 then definitely that's kind of the feel you want. But if you want to do something that's a little more natural, try and find your main poses, your main like key moves and feelings and beats to that shot, and work within those beats rather than having your beat always transition to the next one or the next one. So I hope that idea works well. But I'm blabbing a lot. We need to get into really animating this thing. So let's crank that up. But I do feel like if there's a subject that comes up that I feel like I haven't talked about or haven't really discussed or anything too, I want to definitely make a note of talking about that stuff with you guys as well. But let me know if you think sometimes I should just animate and not talk about those concepts. But I know that a lot of that stuff was, you know, it wasn't stuff that I was aware of, or that was really, there's not a lot of people that what am I trying to say? I want to share with you guys stuff that I learned from paying lots of money to go to classes that maybe isn't out there all the time for free. So I hope that when I talk about that stuff that you get something out of it. Okay. I really want to stick that arm up there. We have to rotate it out a little bit. And now we got to work on our silhouette here, because I want that arm to be sticking out, so that means we probably have to go and push the shoulder forward, maybe. I'll have to adjust this arm out a little bit more. pushing this shoulder a lot, but I think it's a necessity to get it out so we can get it reading in silhouette, but we don't want to break everything too much. Okay, so let's try, let's rotate the hips here so they favor that front there, and then we'll rotate chest here so it favors that one going up. Maybe what we'll do instead is we'll have this one mirror up and instead just want it to read in silhouette. And if you don't know what I mean by read in silhouette, I mean if we were to look at it from the camera angle we're working in right here and we were to black everything out, would we be able to see what was going on and read what was the main feeling there? Shall we go forward? Come on. Grab the right controller here. Okay. I was hoping we could maybe scale down the head or something. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I want to make sure that we get some heavy steps in there too. Run a little bit of a gap between there so you can see what that's doing now. Okay, that might work for a good starting pose. Let's call it because I want to make sure we get into some animating. We haven't even hardly done anything yet. So let's shorten that down to 48 frames here. Let's grab everything we got there and go to frame 0, and we're going to hit S for set a key. And then if this rig is anything like the other ones by the SonicTK, it's going to take a little while for our key to register. That first one, for some reason, takes a little bit longer, but that's okay. So let's see, some things that might be problems for this shot as we're going forward. I think trying to maintain a good silhouette with this being such a bulky character, I think is going to be something we're going to have to really be aware of. Other than that, I'd like to get a little bit of movement in that upper fin too. I noticed on the minnow rig that I was using the other day. Let's actually do these on 10s. Let's do everything on 5s. It's going to be a little bit quicker than usual. Usually we do kind of like a base 6 for steps, but I feel like this should be just want to make sure that our steps are kind of even there. And then let's switch to 50 frames then, just so that we have kind of an even starting point here. And this is 10, so we can move that to 20. Pull the hips up, and what we're doing right now is we're just doing the foundation of the walk. So this is just pretty much like the hips and feet and getting those working. And then once we have that done, then we'll go in and we'll add all the rest of the stuff in. But the most important parts in a walk that you really want to get to solidify that it's a walk are the feet and the hips. So that's the first thing. This is more of kind of a layered approach, a layered straight ahead approach to animating. And by layered, I mean do one thing, and then once that's working, then we do the next thing, and then go on from there. As opposed to doing, this is our first key, and we really nail in everything down on that one pose, and then we go to like this frame 8, and we do a key there, and we really nail in everything there, and then going in between it. This is more of a straight ahead where we go, from frame 0 to frame 50, and we're doing layered method, which is like first we do the feet, then we do the hips, then we do the chest, then we do the head. And it doesn't mean you can't go back and forth and adjust certain things, but it gives you kind of a good path to make sure that you're going to hit everything and you're going to touch on all those things. So let's see if that's kind of... Yeah, I like him being a little bit faster too. And I believe the Richard Williams Animator Survival Kit says usually walks are on 13 frames, but I find 12s are what I tend to base my just an average walk around, because it gives me a good kind of structure to break it down with. That being said, I'm not saying I know more than him. I'm saying that's what for doing these quick videos and maintaining kind of a structure hierarchy, so that I make sure I hit everything and talk about everything and touch on everything. That tends to work like a good system for me. So why I'm saying this one is a quicker walk is because we're doing a base 10 system for these walks. So we're just going to do a little bit of our passing position. So we're going to make sure we have we hit S on the keyboard here to make sure we nail down those previous ones. We're going to do a little drag of the foot, and I want these steps to be heavy, so go ahead and do this for now, but I think I'm going to have them... So we're going to take the translate Y, which is the up position on those feet, and we're going to delay it a frame. That already makes it feel a little heavier. And then I think we're going to go at 7 and rotate the foot back up. So there's a little bit of overlap on there. Change shape. Okay, obviously it's too much, it's too jerky, so first thing we'll do is we'll take the rotate X, which is like the drag back that we have here, and we'll put that one frame, which will give us an extra frame to get that movement in. And we'll also take the amount of movement we have and shrink that down, and that should give us a smoother change there. Let's do a little bit of... let's go ahead and take that rotate X that we had here, and we're going to have to scale it back because it's intersecting through the ground. Now let's go ahead and take what we have and we'll move that to 8. Let's see. Maybe we'll take the translate Y and we'll push that one more frame over as well. I think that's working okay for now. Give us a good amount, and then we'll go ahead and raise it up here and drag it back. And so we have our key set there. And raise it up here and drag it back. Let's see. So you can feel how much heavier that foot is and stompy it is versus this one. So I think we hit that pretty well. That feel pretty good. And I'm going to rotate it up here. And rotate it up there. And pull back our rotate X's to be here. And I'll have to shrink it down a little bit more. Okay, now let's go ahead and grab both feet and let's make sure they're kind of working very similar to each other. So let's take the translate Y's and let's make sure that they're fairly even here. Don't have to be exact, but just so it doesn't feel like one foot is a lot heavier than the other. And let's take our rotate X's and let's kind of even those guys up a little bit more. And let's see how that looks. Okay, let's go ahead and save our file, Control S, continue, and let's get into doing some more on the hips. And so while that is planted foot, we're going to bring the hips to sway over that one. And then since that foot's planted there and that one's raising up, we're going to bring the hips over. And we'll probably have to tone down movement on these hips a little bit more, but that's okay. It's okay to over-exaggerate and then pull back. And then zero that out again. Let's see how that feels. It's not as much as I thought it was going to be, so I think we can stick with kind of where we're at here. Okay, sorry about that. Now let's get back in. Let's tone those down a little bit more. And alright. And let's go here, and then let's go ahead and favor that planted foot there, which I think was this Y on there. One thing that I've noticed about these rigs, they don't stay consistent with the which one is the X and Y axis between the chest and the hips. They vary, where the Y on the hips might be left and right. It's like up and down on the chest, or vice versa. So it just takes a little bit of pre-thought rather than having a universal X and Y. Z rotate. Okay, let's go and see how that feels. Alright, it's feeling pretty good. Control S. Like I said, it's good to get in the practice of saving often. And let's go ahead and rotate them so they tip to favor the planted foot. And again, you can always have it where it like favors the other side as well. It's okay to break the rules. It just depends on whatever kind of a feel you're going for. And I think there's a point too, just because you can break the rules doesn't mean that you should. In this case, if we really wanted to accent like funky hips in the walk, then we would totally break the rules on that and then try and keep the rest of the animation kind of simple or vanilla, so that that would be accentuated if you you have to figure out like kind of what the purpose is of your shot or what the feeling is for it. So if it's a real hip one, then break the hips and exaggerate the hips a lot. If it's not, then kind of keep those vanilla or neutral so that eye won't default go to watching what those are doing. And like I said, it really just depends on what it is that you're going for. I'm just going to do a little bit of squash and stretch on the, or rotate on the chest to kind of offset what the hips are doing there. here, and so we want, let's see, for some reason on this one, to favor that side, favor that side, that side, that side, and back. So let's see. Okay, too much movement on the chest, that's for sure. So let's go ahead and tone that down a little bit more. Like I said, I think it's a good practice to get in the habit of when you're first putting stuff in, make it a little over the top so that you can always have a place that you can pull back from rather than inching forward over and over. I know when I was first learning, I would get a note on a shot that was like, you know, I don't feel like there's enough movement in the hips, so I would take what I had and I'd just like, okay, well, let's just exaggerate just a little bit. And then the next week it would say that they get a note that says, hey, why didn't you fix those hips or something? And the feeling was that even though I did address the note on the shot, that obviously I had not done it enough. So it's okay to go a little too far and then say, you know what, you hit that note, I see that you did, but maybe scale it back a little bit. And that's a better note to get than the feeling of someone's watching your shot, they give you some advice or some critique for it, and you just barely do it a little bit. Usually if they're giving you that note, it's probably because it needs it. And we're going to kind of favor this side a little bit rather than keeping that even. Which, if you can see over here, what we're doing is we still have a little bit of like left and right sway on the chest, but we want to keep that arm up front, so we're just going to do a little bit of that because we want to pump it. Let's go ahead and get our, I don't think we did any up and down yet on these hips, so we're going to raise those up and push them down, raise them up. Got to get some passing and some up and down on those steps there. Push them down, raise them up, and push them down. Okay, might be a little too much and it's a little uneven, so we can rectify that, that's for sure. And I think we might even delay this like 1 frame or so, just so the down position is a little after the context, they're not on the same frame. But we'll see, I was kind of liking how that was feeling already. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch that now. Do a little bit more. Let's see. And like I said, let's have it delay it 1 frame and see if that helps us. And a little more up. And a little less. Let's do a little bit of swing in this arm. So a little bit forward a little bit. We don't need too much, but just a little bit. Because again, we want the focus to kind of be on that upper arm if we can get it there. But a little bit's okay. We'll go ahead and break that elbow, have it drag back, and forward, and back. Forward. And like I said, it's okay to break the rules sometimes. Like right now we might be kind of hyperextending that elbow a little bit, but that's okay. It's going to give us a loose sense of movement there. But right now I don't think we're hyperextending it enough. And by that it means it feels like it just like hits and locks and then goes forward rather than that there's a natural swing. And even though that might be 100% similar to how a human body would work with that, for an animation, it's gonna feel better if you break those joints a little bit. And we need to do a little bit more there. Let's see. push it all the way forward there. I'm going to come to some middle ground so that it's not too much swing. But I think once we add some to the wrists, it'll start feeling better there. And then we'll probably delay that like a frame too, so it doesn't hit at the same time that elbow's going. Let's see. Let's delay it a frame. And let's go ahead and play up that arm move a little bit more. Because right now it feels like just the elbows going because we got so much going on there. That feels pretty good. Do you feel like we need to favor the back a little bit more and a little less bend forward? That's kind of what we want, so we really want to do. I think we'll have it. We'll have to figure out the timing, but I want the timing to be kind of quick on this guy. This might be too much, so we'll have to see. That feels pretty good. Now let's go ahead and do one frame behind that. We're going to have it drag in and out. So we have a nice floppy wrist there. Other way around though. That's what I was thinking as I was doing it. Because that's going inward and we want it to go outward for that movement. So that's easy to fix. We just take our keys there, and that should give us better what we're looking for. Let's actually delay it one more frame as well. And I think we have some variation here. We want to clean up a little bit. So we don't want it to be exact, but there's some definite dip that I didn't like in there, so let's see. I think we want to favor the swing back a little bit more. So pop that up. Let's see. Maybe a little less. Just don't want it to flop too much forward on that. Just a little. Maybe we could do a little bit in the arm as well. But not too much. That way there's like a successive movement from the arm to the forearm to the wrist. Okay, and now we just need to clean that up a little bit. I feel like that's working pretty well. We'll do a little bit maybe in the fingers as well. And let's do some jut or kind of bob in the head as well. I think that will help. rather than rotate, which is what I usually would do with the neck. Do I have a head controller? The jaw. There's the head. Okay. And then maybe we'll do a little bit of rotate as well on top of that, but just a little bit. Let's take both of those, and let's go ahead and delay the frame. Let's take this and delay the frame as well. Let's see. Let's rotate it out a little bit. Down. Just so there's a little bit of rotate that goes along with that. And I think we could probably tone that down a little bit, but I think that idea is working pretty well. So let's go ahead and pull that, even it out, and squash it up so we don't have any of those real extreme ones here. But I think that move's kind of fun. And we could probably do a little bit more like overlap with the jaw in it too. Let's see. Let's turn our textures on and check it. Look at that. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Let's go ahead and save our file. Control S. We'll turn our textures off. And let's get into a little bit of finger animation here. Let's grab 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We just want to do a little bit so they don't feel too stiff. So let's see. Just want to do a little bit of a sway there. And not too much, if I don't want it to go too over the top, but just a little bit so they feel fleshy, like they react to the movement of the wrist. Okay, works pretty good. And then we'll go ahead and do unclick those 3, and we'll delay all of that stuff 1 frame. And we'll unclick this one, this one, this one, just so that we're doing like a little bit of successive movement throughout. Let's see. And then let's go ahead and delay the pinky 2 frames, 1, 2, and let's see. Take that and move it forward 1 frame so it hits. Okay, let's go ahead and watch that thing. Yeah, just so there's a little bit of movement there. It feels pretty good. And let's maybe do a little bit on the thumb as well. Just a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and just a little bit. Like kind of clench and release on that thumb. And drag back and swing forward. Let's see. And let's go ahead and get in here and unclick that one. Delay those to a frame. Unclick that and delay a frame as well. Okay. Let's go ahead and see. Okay. And then let's go ahead and save our file again. And get into this hand here. So we're going to grab 1, 2, 3. Those fingers and 1, 2, 3 there. 1, 2, 3 there. Rotate those. Let's see. Back, forth, back, forth. We don't need to do too much here because remember the hand's going to be moving a lot, so we don't need to do a whole lot on these fingers, but a little bit will help loosen it up a little bit more. And let's go ahead and unselect the roots of the fingers, so we just have the mids and the tips, and we'll delay in the frame, and unselect the mids as well. We'll delay those a frame, and that should give us a little bit of successive movement on those fingers. There you go. Feels pretty good. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of movement on that thumb as well, just a little bit. We'll have it hit on 4. And 9, 14, and 18, and 24, and 29, and 34, 39, 44, 49. Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and maybe we'll just do a little bit of that. A little bit of sway there. To the opposite there. And let's go ahead and we'll have it stretch back and push forward and stretch. Okay. Good. Just to kind of overlap that squash and stretch on the head there. Let's see. And then we want to delay that with 2 frames. And I think what we're going to need to do is actually do opposite. Let's see. And I think we're going to want to shrink that movement down a whole lot as well. Because it's too busy right now. So let's see. still think we should probably tone it down even more here. Just because we don't need it to be too over the top. It's just kind of an accent. It doesn't need to be the focal point of anything. Okay, let's see. And let's try something here. Let's delay on that. Keep it all kind of as a uniform. And let's go ahead and save all that. And let's get into the jaw here. See if we can get a little bit of bounce and overlap in that jaw as well. Kind of a jut out and back. Let's see. Okay, let's delay it 2 frames. Let's see. Actually, let's put it on. Let's flip it around here. So have it be kind of like a middle movement, so it won't move on the same time, but it'll break up the movement there. Let's see. If we don't like it, we can always delete it, but hopefully this will add a little bit more. I think that'll work. Let's turn our textures back on. Turn our nerd curves off. Let's go and watch this a couple times. Okay, let's go ahead and show. I feel like this arm is doing something that I don't like as much. It's just moving too much in that first move there. Let's figure out why that is. Let's see. A little less movement in the arm here. It just feels like that first move is a little too jerky. much better. What's this? Absurd. We can do a little bit of black. Maybe we'll do a little bit of that. Maybe we can do a little bit of that. Just a little bit. I might add a little bit more life today. It's kind of weird that it's out there instead of on the hip. But I'm glad that we could do that. Let's see. Let's go ahead and just tone that down a whole lot. Okay, let's go and see that. And let's go and save that. And then we want to do a little bit of toe here as well. I think we did the toes. So let's see if they give us a toe. They do. Alright. It's going to even up those toe loops as well. Feels like it's a little too busy on that toe. So let's go and watch it now. Let's do it just on one frame instead of two. I should add some weight to it as well. Let's move that maybe one frame forward as well. Maybe back here. Let's see. Let's do a little bit of toe on this side as well. A little bit of drag. Lift it up. And down. Normally I would do that on ones, but for some reason, since it's such a small toe and the rest of it is so big, it's hard to register that, even though I'd want that weight to be there. I think twos is the better. Let's compare the toe between the two, make sure we got that kind of even, and we don't, so let's find a middle ground here for everything. Because if one's a little too low and one's a little too high, then it probably means that what we really want is somewhere in between. Let's go ahead and check that out now. You can still feel there's a little overlap there, and that's nice. Just keeps that foot from feeling too rigid. Alright, I think that'll work for today. You know what we gotta do? We gotta create like a good background for this guy. It's a good background color here. Let's cube. And raise it up here. Just so we can do something that's not. Okay, let's go assign new material. Let's do a just want to find a good color here. Let's zoom out just a little bit more. I think that works pretty well. I've got a nice little jet in the head and the arm going. Got some heavier steps. Got that other arm just kind of swinging back. Yeah, so let me know in the comments down below if there's things that you thought were really successful about this, or things you would have done different, or different approaches you have. Any questions, any comments, thoughts, ideas, any of that kind of stuff down in the information below. Don't forget to throw some thumbs up here if you enjoy these videos and want me to keep making more, and subscribe to the channel as well. That being said, keep in mind kind of the stuff we were talking about at the beginning, that working hours are from 8 a.m. to 12 and 1 to 5, but I never stop. Try to get that mentality of never stop, at least thinking about your work and how you can take different stuff from your life and implement it. And remember the other thing we talked about, which was find something else that you're passionate in life and try to merge those two and bring elements of those other things that inform your life and help direct your life, and bring that into the work that you're doing, whatever it is, to bring that uniqueness and that level of individuality that might not be there from other people. Alright, that being said, folks, we will see you tomorrow for some more animation, and you guys have a great afternoon and a happy Father's Day to everybody. Alright. Have a good one. See ya.